welcome back to EVE Online with me, Mark from DadX. And today we're with my oldest alt, Pine Ridge Raider. We saw him in the Orca video. He's nearly 10 years old and he's going to do the mining barge guide video for us. And about 9 years ago, this was his dream ship, the Retriever. So it's the first barge we're going to look at. We're basically going to do a comparative of them. We're going to look at some ways of flying them safely to avoid getting ganked and how to make the most of each one, which has its own role, as I'll explain. And then we'll look at the Know Your Enemy section, which in the case of mining barges is basically suicide gankers on asteroid belt. And I'll try to give you enough information to help you avoid it and understand exactly how ganking works, the mathematical science, which is all it is really, and where you'll be safer, where you'll be less safe, and if your ship can ever actually be made gank proof. The answer to that is no, but we'll see what we can do. Anyway, let's get on with the show. First of all, we're going to go straight into the ship tree, and in the ore ship section we have the mining barges. Little venture here, everyone's best friend early game. Expedition frigates we'll have a look at another time. They have their own roles. But here we have the free mining barges. We have the Procurer. We have the Covetor times 2. One Covetor. And the Retriever. Look at me over clicking all over the place. Right. So we have 3 different mining barges. They all cost about the same. These are going to be Dixie prices. So we've got about 23 million, 24 million. And the Retriever about 28 million, a little bit more, and the Covetor at 30 million, so even more. So the Procurer is the cheapest one, Retriever in the middle, and the Covetor over here being a big expensive one at 30 million just for the hull. That's Indo-Dixie. Cheaper hulls are available, I'm sure. Right, the first thing you'll notice here on the trait screen are the bonuses that each one of these barges gets, and this is very indicative of their intentioned role and how you're going to want to use them. So we're going to look at the Retriever in the middle because it's kind of the middle barge. It has less bonuses than the other two. It gets a bonus to ore hold capacity. It's the only one that does, and it gets a 2% reduction in strip miner and ice harvester duration, as do all the barges. Now where they vary, over here on the Procurer we've also got a 5% bonus to ship shield hit points per level of mining barge. So this is why you want to level up your mining barge skills. You're not only getting a reduction in your durations, you're also getting these other bonuses. We also get a 50% bonus to drone damage and hit points. So that gives us a little bit of clue of what's going on with this one. It gets more shield hit points and it can do damage. Over here with the Covetor, we also, of course, get that 2% reduction per level of mining barge skill to the duration, but we get a 5% bonus to the range. So that can be quite handy, especially as they're very slow ships. The roll bonus is a 25% reduction in strip miner and ice harvester duration and activation cost. So again, that's going to up the productivity. So this one mines the fastest because it gets this extra duration reduction. This one gets by far the most hit points because it gets bonuses to its shields, and it can do damage if it needs to. And here in the Retriever we've got the middle one, which as you skill up your mining barge skill can hold more ore. To the attribute screens, structure hit points gives us a bit of a clue here too. Procurer 5,500, Retriever 2,000, and Covetor 1,500. So tough, in the middle, flimsy. These capacities here are just a general cargo hold. They don't vary much and they're not that relevant. You're only going to have bits and pieces in here. Drone capacity is 25 on the Retriever, so you can only carry 5 small drones, and the bandwidth is 25, so you can only fly 5 small drones. Appropriate. The Covetor can carry 50 cubic meters of drones, and that could be 10 light drones if you want them for defense. It could be mining drones, and you can fly 5 of them because you've got 50 megabits a second bandwidth, twice as much. Over here on the Procurer, you can only fly 5 light drones, but you can carry 10 of them, basically a spare flight. to vary your damage or as reinforcements. So this one's got more of a fighting drone capacity. This one can use mining drones. This one can defend itself. Down here, the most telling and most confusion causing one, that is based on somebody in an NPC channel going, I've just bought a Covetor. I spend most of my time emptying it. So here we look. Procurer will hold 12,000 cubic meters, and that won't be bonused by anything. By modules or skills, nothing will do that. The Retriever has a base or hold capacity of 22,000, but remember that gets a 5% bonus per level of the Mining Barge skill, so you could get up to 25% more than that. The Covetor or hold capacity 7,000 is tiny, and it mines faster. So it needs some kind of support. If you want to solo mine in a Covetor, you're actually going to be less productive than somebody in a Retriever because you're going to spend so much time going back and forth to empty yourself. But that can be mitigated in various ways, as we'll talk about when we look at that fit. So they are the three mining barges. Retriever in the middle. It holds the most. It mines quite well. And you can stay out and be productive for longer, come back and empty, etc, etc. Procurer, much more shield, and if we actually look down here at the details of the shield, this is where it all starts kicking in. Everything is tougher. So we've got 5,000 hit points of armor, 6,000 hit points of shield, plus the hull, and the Retriever just the 1,700 hit points of armor, 2,300 hit points of shield, and our little friend the Covetor, flimsy Jim over here, it's 1,300 hit points of armor and 1,700 hit points of shield. The resistances are the same. They do have the EM hull, so you're going to want to take care of that. There are a few other differences. The Procurer gets a lot more capacitor than these two guys, so it can run more modules, because it's not necessarily just going to be running mining modules, remember. And down at the bottom, you will see speed. The Procurer is the fastest by far at 100 meters, 160 meters per second top speed. The Retriever, the slow boat, 80, and the Covetor 100. So you're not going to be wanting to fly these around too much on the belt if you can. So one of the first things I suggest is that if you're going to go out mining in a barge, you go out in any ship really, maybe a venture or just a frigate, find a mining field, scan it, find some nice fat asteroids that you want to mine and bookmark them. Then you go back and then you get in your mining barge and you're going to warp straight to those. That's the plan anyway. It saves all the slow boating around on the belt, which is a waste of time. So this is the Retriever. It's lovely. Let's have a look at the fit. I'm not going to look at the fits of these individual ships. I'm going to, because I've done it in a more clever way, because these do vary a little bit. So Tech 1 Retriever fit. Comes in at about 36 million here, probably a little bit more. But this is all the meta modules. We've got two Tech 1 strip miners. Now combined they're going to give us 15 cubic meters a second of mining yield. And we have got just the 3 mining laser upgrade ones down here. Basically maximum productivity. Survey scanner, so we're not wasting cycles on asteroids that are about to die. Over in the rigs, which I've just switched in case anything's changed suddenly on the screen, I'm not sure. We've got 2 extenders and 1 EM screen reinforcer. For some reason in the fit I dropped in 3 extenders, just to close that EM hole a bit. You never know what damage you're going to take, and it isn't just going to be gankers that are shooting at you. Triglavians are a thing, they're kind of the NPC gankers, just to mix things up. So you need a little bit of tank just in case you're a little bit clumsy, but you're only really going to be in trouble if you're AFK. So the Retriever, to summarise, gives us 15 cubic meters a second in the Tech 1 configuration. Tech 2, so now we've got the Tech 2 strip miners up here, and we've got the Tech 2 mining laser upgrades. But these Tech 2 strip miners, you must remember, need crystals. So I'm going to put Veldspar crystals in there. And something you need to bear in mind, firstly, we've obviously increased the yield. We're up to just over 18 from 15. So that's, if I do the math, it's about a 20% increase in yield there from upgrading to the Tech 2 fit. As I was saying about the crystals, just do bear in mind that when you train up for the Tech 2 modulated strip miner, which you need mining level 5 for, When you actually then want to put the crystals in, you need to have trained the appropriate processing skill to at least level 3 to use the crystals. So you're going to need processing up to level 4, and then learn Veldspar processing, Omber processing, etc., to use the crystal. Without the crystals, a Tech 2 strip mining laser is less productive than a Tech 1. So you must have this skill, and remember to learn that, because I made that mistake the first time I went out. Don't do what I did. So that's the Tech 2 retriever. So that's up to about 18.2 meters a second mining yield. Now we're going to go over to the Covetor, Tech 1 fit. As you see, the slot layout is exactly the same. It's just the stats that are different, basically. There's nothing much else we can do with this fit. You can vary it a little bit. Please, any suggestions, leave us comments. But anyway, here, Tech 1 strip miners. We've got 2 of those, so that's now giving us 20 meters a second between the 2 of them. 20 meters a second, 20 cubic meters per second, and exactly the same configuration. 3 upgrades, 2 strip miner ones, same rigs, just basic tank increasing rigs, 1 scanner. And the drones, I'm not including mining drones in this because they're obviously quite skill dependent. It is obviously going to increase the yield even more, but I'm not going to complicate things by adding that in, because then it just lengthens the whole process. So Tech 2 Covetor, same thing, we need to put in some crystals, and we'll put in Omber mining crystal, shall we? Yes, we shall. And we're going to get 24.4 meters cubic meters per second of that ore. And again, it's just the 3 Tech 2 upgrades, 2 Tech 2 strip miners, no other variants whatsoever. So we've now got from 15 to nearly 24, going from a Tech 1 retriever to a Tech 2 cover. So that is the highest yield we're going to get with my skills, etc. There may be other variances I'm not taking into account, but you know, as a comparative guide, this is sound. The price is a little bit higher. Procurer is where things get a little bit different. Now the mining yield, this is the Tech 1 version, 2 Tech 1 strip miners. I've gone for full mining yield here with 2 mining laser upgrades. And out of the 2 of them, we're going to get 14.4. So quite a lot less than the other guys. But is it that much less when you consider that we've now got 57,000 EHP? If we go back to the retriever, 12,000. Procurer, 57,000 EHP. Now that is going to be a very relevant number when we talk about the ganking section later on. Okay, so here we've got shield extender in, medium shield extender 2, adaptive invulnerability shield hardener times 2. We've even got the survey scanner in there because we're here to mine, and the same rig setup, exactly the same. 2 extenders, 1 EM screen reinforcer, and then you'd have your drones in here, which would be 2 flights of light drones. So lowest mining yield we can get. If we go to Tech 2 Procurer, again just set up to mine. Bistock mining crystals, there we go. So between the 2, 16.5 cubic meters per second of mining for the maxed out mining yield Procurer. And we'll just switch from the Covetor to the Procurer, just so you can see the difference. He looks a little bit meatier. The Covetor's just a bit longer than a retriever, but look at that. I like this chunky little thing. It's quite a nice looking ship in its own right. They huff and they puff. Some lovely effects on them while they're working. So I hope that has explained to you the basic differences between the 3 barges. Retriever, general purpose, solo mining in a reasonably safe place because you've got no tank, but as long as you're paying attention, you should be surviving. Procurer, loads of tank, dangerous places, capable of being quite self-sufficient because it's got a reasonably big ore hold, but can't go out quite for as long as a retriever and just mine. Covetor, mines the quickest, flimsiest, most expensive, and needs support, otherwise it spends its whole time flying back to a station to unload. Now how you deal with that with the Covetor is obviously you could drop cargo containers just by jettisoning the ore and have a mate or an alt or a fleet mate or however you've got it set up come round and collect the ore from those cargo containers. You could have a porpoise or an orca on grid with you giving you boosts, which would be brilliant. And you could just put your ore then straight either into the fleet hangar of the orca, or you can drop cans and let the orca deal with them, whichever way you set it up. But with a Covetor, if you haven't got a bit of logistical support, you're going to be a little bit less productive than you would be in a retriever. And here, because I know you miners and industrialists love your numbers, are the numbers. I'll let you read those at your leisure, freeze frame the screen, etc, etc. Just bear in mind there will be variances on yield and EHP depending on your skills. So here we are landing on a belt. We're deliberately not alone. I need some titanium. I have an ore for us that needs building. I did have the Veldspar bookmarked from a previous visit up to the belt, so I'm pretty close on. I go on to my mining overview, I lock it, and that is the only time I am looking at my mining overview at all. Just look at all of the lovely rocks on this overview. But what it does mean, if you stay on this setting, you will not see a ship that lands on grid with you until it is within about 16 kilometers of you, and that may well be too late, mate. So don't stay on that setting. And right there on my D scan, which I use no matter what I'm doing, there was a Stratios. Now the Stratios can cloak, so it could come over to this belt cloaked, get within about 8,000 meters of us, 5,000 meters of us, and his mates come into system, whoop straight to him, and they're straight upon us. So there's one thing to look out for. Just be aware that there's a ship in local that could be cloaked up a little bit later and coming towards you. Also be wary of ships you don't know coming within about 10 kilometers of you. Once they're within 8,000 meters, that's scram range if their catalyst mates warp up to them, so keep an eye out. I'm aligning back towards the station, and you can either just keep going at full speed, you can slow yourself down, I'm going to take some screenshots, or you can just cruise at 75% of your speed and you'll be ready to warp out whenever you need to. And I don't leave my drones out unless they need to be out, so I don't even have to think about them if I do have to leg it. Here on the overview settings, this is some quite important stuff. I'm just checking on here what I've got set. I've got no drones on my main overview. I want them on there, but I don't want them on the one that I use for kind of hunting because it creates too much clutter. If you descan from this overview setting, you will get all of the wrecks and all of these bits and pieces. Now some of these wrecks could be quite handy. The Triglavian wrecks can be good to salvage, so I'm not sure why nobody has actually, but they're still there. But you don't really want all that clutter on your descan. Of course, the advantage of not being alone on a belt is that should gankers turn up, they've got a choice of targets, and they'll probably go for the Covetor over me because it's just a bit more of an assured kill. I'm just running the scanner there, and once you get this scanner results window up, this is the other reason you don't need to use your mining view. Do remember you can do everything you need to do from here. You can approach the asteroid as I'm doing, you can lock the asteroid, etc, etc. No excuse for sitting on your mining overview. And as you can see on the scanner result, well, it's gone now, the asteroid we were mining is dying. There you go, beautiful explosion. I only realised quite recently that you even get that effect. Is it new, or is it because I can run decent settings nowadays? I don't know. I'm constantly running my D-scan, by the way, a 1 AU range and a 360 degree radius, so any catalysts or destroyers or anything dodgy that appears on that D-scan, I'm going to think about just leaving. I suggest you maybe do the same, but you have to use your D-scan. And I'm just tidying that up now a little bit. I've got all the wrecks showing on my D-scan now, and I really don't need all that clutter around, so I'm going to go back onto the settings. I don't know how I've changed them, so I want the hunt tab to not have wrecks on it, because we don't need to see those. Who needs to hunt a wreck? If we're looking for wrecks, we've got a special setting for that. So turn off the wrecks. There you go. They're off the overview. And when we run the D-scan, they're off the D-scan. So keep things as simple and tidy as possible. And the other issue is, you may be asking, why are those guys all highlighted in grey? Well, the simple fact is that with the use of the appearance background setting, if you go through them, there's lots of different ways to do it, but I basically just set every pilot with no standing to have a grey background. So if I have not manually said I like them or don't like them, or in rare occasions that I'm ambivalent and neutral towards them, they will show up as grey as soon as they appear on my overview. So how could you possibly miss that, eh? And that of course applies to pretty much anything you might be doing where somebody can mess with you. Make sure you know, give yourself the maximum opportunities to know when you are not alone, whether it's making sure your overview is not full of rocks, or that your approaching enemy is just not another line on a spreadsheet. Help yourself. Now what you can do if you want to get quite technical is make sure your barge is kind of on the far side of the asteroid you're mining from wherever you might want to walk back to. So you can just align and stay moving towards it for as long as possible. And the one advantage of the incredibly slow movement speed of a barge is that you'll stay in range to mine the asteroid for a very long time. You can manually adjust the speed by clicking down here. You can go really slowly. You can go at 75% speed is when you will basically insta-warp if you click warp. Okay, we're now in a Procurer in its natural environment, a wormhole. And we're off to mine. We're alone, there's nobody else around. We're going to keep a very close eye on our D-scan. And we've landed and there are already some rats here. So what are we going to do about that, Mr. Procurer? Well, we're going to drop our drones. We're going to run our invulnerability field. And we're going to get on with mining, basically. The Procurer, with the spot spawned here, we can pretty much ignore it. The drones will take care of this, no problem whatsoever. So I'll just get the 3 of them locked up, get the drones out to go and say hello. Run the invulnerability field and get about my business really, which is mining. So let's do that. But D-scan first, D-scan always, before we even worry about settling down to anything else. They're going down very nicely just off the drones. I've got no drone damage amplifier. As you can see, I've got 1 warp core stabilizer to give me a little bit of leeway. If a player or indeed a rat gets a point on me, I can still warp away. I've got 1 warp core stabilizer fitted. That halves my targeting range. Do bear that in mind. Every time you put one of those on your ship, you're halving how far away you can lock something. Not a big issue when you're mining, but in this situation, even if the enemy do go out of the range that I can keep them locked, the drones will just keep fighting them anyway. So that's all good. So I can just get over there, lock up my chosen Archanaut asteroid and get to my mining. Let the drones do the work. Just keep an eye on that D-scan. Keep your warp out point handy and maybe stay pre-aligned to it just in case anyone does join you on grid. Again, there are cloaked ships, we all know that. And I'm on obviously an unscanned site. You can just warp straight up to these, so there's no real issue with people joining me at will. But today we're good, we're not being hunted. We'll just get on with it. That's it. It's as simple as that. The tank, as you can see, is holding up more than nicely. It was only a cruiser and a couple of frigates, but I just wanted to show you that that's what the Procurer's for, to fight them off while it gets on with the mining. And there you go. They're all dead. As I said, they'd gone out of block range, but the drones stayed aggroed on the guy and took him down. So anyway, guys, I hope that has explained the different roles of the barges and some basic fits to get you going, and just so you can choose which one to invest your hard-earned ISK into to get you going. You might end up wanting one of each, like I've got, for different missions and different scenarios. But anyway, now let's know our enemy, that ganker in the catalyst. Obviously, it doesn't have to be a catalyst. Destroyers of any type can do the work. Catalysts are the favourite. I think they can just usually put out the most raw DPS with the lowest skills. And they're cheap and they're cheerful. So we're going to have a look at a meta Gank Fit. This is my standard ratting fit now with an alpha clone. Bear in mind, Fury is an alpha. And with the buff, I'm only running ion cannons on this. This is my ratting catalyst. So it's got tank, it's got a web. I'm running ion blasters, and if I overheat them with void, need to simulate it first. My little baby alpha gets nearly 500 DPS out of her catalyst now. That's quite handy. But we're going to go to a meta gank catalyst. And we're going to load up some Navy antimatter ammo. and we're going to overheat the guns. So we're up to just over 400 DPS. Again, this is an alpha. This is a 5mm fit, we'll say. And it's doing about 400 DPS. So the ganker is going to look at your barge, knowing it's worth, let's say, an average of 35 to 40 million. So if they can kill your barge with less than 35 to 40 million ISKs worth of destroyers, or gank ships, whatever they may be, they are ISK positive on their kill board. And that's all they really want. In fact, they may not even care about that. For the price of a £5 million catalyst each, they might come and just do it for the lols, to be honest. But the basic equation, if they want to do it half sensibly, is to spend less on the cats they're killing you with, which Concord are inevitably going to kill. There's no chance for the ganker to get away, than your barge costs. And then we have a timed battle between the DPS of the catalysts and your tank. And they have to kill you before the cops arrive and kill them. It's as simple as that. So, I'm going to put some graphics up on the screen to illustrate this, but say we've got our... What should we start with? We'll start with a good old retriever. Our one had 12,800 hit points. If we've got 3 catalysts, it's not rocket science to figure out that their combined 1200 DPS is going to take 10.6 seconds to kill you. Just over 10 seconds. Now, in a 0.5 system, it's going to take 19 seconds for the cops to get to you. In a 0.6, it's 14 seconds. In 0.7, it's 10 seconds. Ideally, averagely I should say. So you might just make it. In a 0.8, it's 7 seconds. In a 0.9 and a 1, it's 6 seconds. So those 3 catalysts, alpha catalysts, wouldn't be able to gank you before the cops came and killed those in a 0.7, maybe, probably, a 0.8 or a 0.9 or a 1. But in a 0.5 or a 0.6, you're probably going to go down. If you're in the Covetor, bless him, with his 9,400 hit points, and our 3 alpha catalysts come out for some lols, you're going down in less than 8 seconds. So again, if we could up the DPS a bit, we could even take your Covetor down in a 0.8. Just the 3 of them, okay? And I could do that, probably with a rig. That would be enough. Wouldn't add much more on. There's only 3 catalysts, so I could spend 10 million on each catalyst and still be killing you and making a profit. Now, if we get to the good old Procurer, 57,000 hit points divided by, well, if we just say 400, 142 seconds worth of catalysts. So if we wanted to say we had 3 of them, 47 seconds. It's not going to happen. You're going to need a big herd of catalysts or some bigger ships. But you're not going to see that happen. Skiff, on the other hand, being worth maybe 300 million, you will get tornadoes chucked at you. That's a story for another day. It's all about that relative costs and whether you can beat the copper's timer. Now, those times for the police response are not set. They can be quicker if they're already around and local. They just got to warp a belt over to where the next aggressor is. But if they've been pulled deliberately by the gankers or just by circumstance across the system and they're busy dealing with something and kind of regrouping, that could add 50% onto that response time. And gankers will know how to do that to give themselves more time to actually kill you. So basically, how wary you need to be of getting ganked is down to those 3 factors: your hit points, the police response time, and the likely DPS of the things coming to kill you. It is as simple as that. So I hope that's explained how ganking works, and it is a purely mathematical situation. Once the gankers scramble you, it's them against your hit points versus the game engine and the police response. I'm not going in obviously into how to do the gank. I've told you when we were out mining that they're going to try to get a ship close to you to warp to, maybe a cloaked ship very close to you to warp to. They may randomly just warp to the belt. Who knows how they get to you? They will. Look on your D-scan. If you see 4 catalysts coming towards you, run. Basically, that's all I'm going to say. So anyway, I hope you found this helpful. If you've got any questions or want any clarifications or any input, because there's a lot to this and I might not have covered all of it. I might have even got something slightly wrong. Who knows? I'm only human. Comments, please, or join the Discord and chat all you like with us in there. Please subscribe if you want to stay in touch. Like the video if you've enjoyed it and liked it. It really does help it get shown more to YouTube users, so more Eve players can see it, so we can all have more fun. That's my goal anyway. So for now, take care of yourselves. I hope the lockdown's not going to last too much longer. Fly safe. Enjoy your barge. Remember, evening is believing. But anyway, for now, thank you very much for watching. Take care and goodbye.